Good morning, and welcome to Who Am I? If any of you are regular listeners, and none of you are, I apologize for the last few days. I have been making the show, but I've been having audio technical difficulties. And yesterday I realized that what my problem was, it wasn't as dire as the ones before, where this horrible static um interference, if you will, was coming into the mix. Yesterday, my problem was I had multiple microphones on, and so I had kind of a cave like quality to it, not really all that pleasing. I liked the content, but I'd never posted it. If anybody ever asks me, please post that thing that you say is so wonderful that's hard to listen to because the audio's poor. I will. I have saved it. Someday, I've archived it. Someday it'll be in high demand. Anyway, the show is Who Am I? And that's basically the question that we ask all morning. I do it for myself. I invite you in to witness the process, if you will, at some point. When I get to a level of comfort with this show and the process that I undergo every day, and also comfortable enough with the technology to handle this one, I will start streaming this. And it'll be live, and there might be somebody actually listening live. Otherwise, you can always pick up the posted recording. I post it on my YouTube channel just as soon as I'm done with it. Anyway, I've been having problems with my audio quality, so several days I have not posted. This morning, I hope this one is good enough, and I hope it gets posted. So, where are we? The question is, who am I? And I ask this question humbly from many, many layers and levels. And I know some of the answers, and I know that all of the answers add up with one another. And that when you manage to put it all into the same place, there's a thing that happens. I have always been a great proponent of something that I call addition consciousness, and I've never heard anybody else call this. I've never heard anybody label this idea at all. But the idea is that if it exists, it belongs in the picture, because the picture you're looking for is allness. You're looking for the wholeness of the picture, the integration, the integral nature of the quantum soup around you. And so, if it happened, if you noticed it, if it exists, it goes in the picture. Whether or not you know what to do with it or not. Maybe it's somebody saying ideas that don't fit into your notion of the world. You actually should have your consciousness set up so that you can easily input other people's ideas without it affecting your own in an uncontrolled way. I mean, it should affect your own. As you broaden your vision by inputting others, add, they all start organizing with each other within your consciousness, and something really cool happens. If you are the kind of person who's arranging their consciousness by sorting and sifting, you're like looking at it going, do I agree with that? Do I want to put that in? Or do I want to deal with that? Or do I just subtract? Is that a yes or a no? If it's a no, I throw it out. If it's a yes, I pull it in. And although on some level you are doing that, that's not what I'm talking about here. When I'm talking about the evaluation of the universe around you, if you're trying to figure out what the meaning of the allness is, you got to add all the things in, even if they don't make sense, even if they seem to be don't know, step one moments, things that you don't like, they're still there. So there's a place where you put it in where you don't have any feelings about it. It's just, I don't know what to do with this. I'm just going to put it in. And I'll tell you that over time, what'll start happening is in that place where you've thrown everything that you didn't understand. I don't know what to do with this. I'll just put it all in. It goes in here. I know it goes somewhere, so I'll just put it in here because this is where everything goes. What starts happening is as the years go by, and perhaps even sometimes as the decades go by, that stuff in there starts organizing with each other, with itself, with the stuff in the room. And the next thing you know, coherence is coming out of it. And you go, oh, that's how that fits. Oh. And I'll tell you what, there's no antidote in the world for an uncomfortable, dangerous, threatening, scary world than some modicum of ability to look at it and understand what you're looking at, so that it doesn't all seem random and threatening, scary. I don't know how to protect myself from a very scary world. Every direction I look, there's dangers. There's leches, and there's pedophiles, and there's I'm sorry, I just went into a reverie. There's war, and there's mass shootings. There's angry people. There's desperate people. A lot of people around you are not making the ends meet. They have children that they are not feeding sufficiently. And they feel terrible about that because you love your children, and human beings love their children. And I know that you could point to misaligned people and who are not treating their children well, but that's not the point of this conversation. We aren't going to be turning to the negative. Yeah, the negative exists. It absolutely exists. But my thesis is pretty much that the cause of all human suffering, or so much of it that the rest of it doesn't even really count, or would be so easily handled, the bulk of human suffering is being caused by us not knowing who we are, by us not knowing how we're made, by us not knowing, well, this is less so, but I think it's cool, and I think it's an interesting question about where we came from. Where we came from, literally, like, where did the species come from? Because I have a thought about that, but, I would leave it to others to add more thoughts to this. But I think it's an interesting piece of information that I add to this mix that may imply a certain source of humanity. So, anyway, like I said, if you're a regular listener, and you probably aren't, because I may have one, but I'm not sure. I apologize for the gap in the last few days, and I'm going to apologize for something else, because I don't really know where this is going to go. But for right now, and especially since I lost the ability to publish the last couple of days, I said a lot of interesting things that I'm not sure what it was even that I said, because I can't listen to them either because the audio is so terrible. I just kind of remember I was kind of there when I said it. So I'm going to take the approach of I'm going to pretend like I haven't said anything. And I'm just going to start at the beginning. The question is, who am I? And we want to approach this mostly from the question, who am I, in reference to source energy? But who am I as an individual? Who am I as a species? Who am I as a system setup? Who am I as a biotechnology? Who am I as the quantum field? Who am I as a being of light moving through what appears to be time, but it's just the way that my vehicle is experiencing the medium, is producing the sense of time. Even though it doesn't exactly exist, it has to do with me moving through the grid. Moving through the grid produces that sense of time. Excuse me. So where do we start? You are a binary system. You are form and formless. But primarily, you are actually formless, becoming any form you want. So you're formless and form. But you really are the formless, but the thing about that formless, it can come into any form it wants. And you are one with the rest of the field around you. It's hard to completely separate you. There is a kind of separation because you have your particular atoms, but you're sharing a lot of stuff with all the field around you. So you really can't completely, I mean, you are your own Plancks. But, yeah, it's hard to separate you from the rest of the field around you. You are a field phenomenon. We are a field phenomenon. And if we want to understand, especially wanting to understand who we are collectively, so that we can understand ourselves individually, because honestly, you deal with each other individually, one by one, but there's a whole thing that's going on. There's a wholeness that we are, that you can't get away from. It's like if we all added up to a certain number, and sort of the way a triangle does. You know, like a triangle adds up to 180. And no matter how you configure that triangle, when you add those three angles up, it always adds up to 180. And it's something like that with humanity. No matter how many individuals that there are, you add it all up and it equals 1, you know, or something like that, you know. Your neighbor is your unknown self made visible. And not only that, something about the way we all are contributes to the way each other is. And what I'm postulating is, and attempting to do my part to remedy, and other teachers, great teachers, they come at this exact same thing. I'm not saying something different. I'm not saying something, but everyone comes at it with a unique perspective, a unique angle on the perspective, because we're all situated on the grid, on a grid that we are shedding light on. You know, everyone from their own position, we're all looking at the same grid, but we're looking at it from very different angles. And when you're talking about the perceptual angle of each individual being, there's a great deal of difference, because now we may be walking down the same street, but I'm remembering, you know, from a different past. You know, I had a different mother or father. I grew up on a different street. I grew up in a different religion and a different nationality, you know, speaking a different language, perhaps, with different pets, or any one of any. I hope I wasn't too close to that microphone. I don't like the quality to start adding in, but I don't want to be so far away from it that this audio doesn't come out clearly. And as I move around the room, I don't want it to, you know, move around too much, so forgive me. There is going to be a little bit more audio work happening this weekend, and if I am actually experiencing a problem with this, forgive me. I'm going to try to publish today anyway, because I really want this to get out. You know, who am I? Who am I? I think that us not knowing who we are in general is the biggest source of our problems, because we keep trying to solve our problems. I'm going to air quote that. That's the right place to do that, right? I have so many videos. So many backdrops. It takes me a minute to find them all. We try to fix our problems in ways that don't work. They don't work because that's not what our problem is. That's not how you fix it. It's sort of like the old, if you're trying to fix the morale problem, you go, and the beatings will continue until morale improves. Well, that's just trying to fix a problem in a way that doesn't fix the problem. And until we understand who we are and how we function and how this grid functions and how reality manifests, how the rolling manifestation rolls, what it's rolling on, what's sparking it, what's creating the matter to begin with, how does this system work? Well, you're a binary system for sure. And at the most fundamental level, you are form and formless. And you can start getting more specific than that. I still stay at a fairly general point. You, yourself, you get to go to the specific. You are the specific. I'm going to talk about the general, and you are the specific from this general. And we shouldn't be so afraid of inputting one another's viewpoints or ideas, because honestly, our consciousness is designed to be capable of holding the whole thing and not lose yourself. I believe that's so because part of who you really are is the allness. It's a really, really big part of every one of us. Now, what the balance that you're walking is to become your allness without losing your specificity. Because who you are specifically is actually what is the blessing to the whole. All of us added together make up the picture of what's going on right now, the expression of reality, the expression of the rolling manifestation that is rolling through our lives right now is is actually the meaning of everything. And you don't want to lose your part of playing that out by being too entranced by looking at the all. But the all really is also a big part of what's going on. Now, as a human being, we are expected to understand the mechanisms of the systems around us to a point. One of the reasons I say we're expected to is because we're expected to interact with it. And I don't know if we're really expected to succeed, but, at some point, a lot of us trying to deal with this, we're hoping to succeed. But unless you understand who you are and how this works, you may be floundering. If you are taking your own emotions too literally, too seriously, too specifically, too looking at only your own emotions and your own sadness and your own despair or whatever, lift your eyes up and get off of yourself for a minute. Not because you aren't important and not because your suffering doesn't matter, because it really does. And you really are important. But if you would line yourself up, if you would get into alignment with your two selves, then you would be both happier way, way, way happier, you would then be a benefit to the world around you instead of a drag on it, you know? Man, he's such a drag. And in a way, literally, it's true, because the drag that you're being is kind of this resistance-based, not allowing us to fly through this experience like we could. I'm going to tell you right now, there is parts of me that is concerned, very politically concerned about the situation going on in the United States right now. And I haven't been jacking myself up. Honestly, I've pretty much checked out of this because although I became politically active about 8 years ago, for obvious reasons, if anybody knows anything about near history. But what I noticed was that the resistance, and I'm going to air quote resistance again because this is the right way, the resistance that I put up, I believe contributed, along with all the rest of the resistance, to giving someone who should not have the power that he does today. The resistance that we put up, I think, gave power to the other side, and I don't want to do that. I believe that the polarity itself is the danger. It's not, there is no us and them, so there is not actually a villain, not even the ones who have taken up the role of villain. That they aren't even really villains because it's an energy event happening in the field around us. There are, what it's an expression of is that there are many, many, many of us who are angry, who are frightened, who feel threatened, who feel frustration or discomfort or uncertainty or all kinds of feelings flying around. And a lot of people do not know what the meaning of their negative emotions actually is. They don't know how their system is set up to even have negative emotion. The reason that you have negative emotion is because you have two selves. And one of your selves is never, ever, 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 ever negative. And if you have ever listened to me before here, this is my beautiful illustration of your two minds. And I see both of these minds as being vibrational because everything is vibrational. Even your physical body is vibrational, but it's also physical. It's got a denser quality to it that our physical senses start picking up. Before that, it was just a vibrational thing. I mean, the stuff that is not your physical body to you is still, it's all vibrational. You are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. And your physical aspect has two aspects. One is your conventional density at the core of your consciousness, which seems to be wrapped up in your physical body. You have your physical body density. That's an aspect of you. But there's more of you. You actually are connected to the whole thing. You have a vibrational, cosmic, vibrational anatomy, aspect of your anatomy that is connected to all things. You really do. And your negative emotion, the meaning of your negative emotion, on the one hand, it's got multiple meanings. On the one hand, one of the meanings is I am witnessing something that that part of me doesn't care for. And it might be your physical self, but it's perfectly valid for many things. I mean, if you don't like it, there's probably something to not like about it. You know, if you're witnessing something like they have poisoned, the local fracking company has just poisoned your beloved acequia, full of salamanders, and there's a heron that comes, and and so you witness this and you feel absolutely terrible about it. You feel horrible about it. And on the one hand, you should, because that's not a good thing. We have a natural revulsion for things that are contrary to the beneficence of a biological life. And so when you see, rape and murder and fire and destruction, we have a negative emotion. Absolutely. War, all that kind of stuff, have a negative emotion. However, you should know that this is not all of how you feel, because there is an aspect of you that is connected to all things and knows that all is well. Now, this knowingness that knows that all is well knows way more than just all is well. It knows what you want, and it knows where what you want is, how what you want is, how to find what you want, how to get to what you want, how to be what you want. Why is this important? It's really, really important because as a human being, we are faced with a lot of questions. How do I be? Where do I go? What do I do? How do I find my way? Especially, let's say I'm a person who was born in one paradigm, like a religious structure or whatever, that I have broken out of. Maybe I don't follow the way that I was raised because I don't believe the structure that they're hanging the whole thing on. I do not believe that reality actually unfolds the way they tried to tell me that it was. And so now I'm not in that structure anymore, and I'm just finding my own way. And I'll tell you, I think there are billions of us who are doing this because our understanding of cosmology is changing, and so our cosmological belief systems got to be changing right now. This is the time of awakening, and we're all starting to look around and add each other in and go, oh, look at what happens when you start adding a bunch of us in. Look at how it starts shedding light on this whole picture. Look at who we actually are. A lot of the main thesis, the whole reason that I want to speak to the world, it sounds so grandiose. I don't mean to. It's just you have two perspectives. You are your specific self, and then you are your allness self. And they actually both matter. One of them helps inform the other one. You don't really have to think it through. If you will feel it through, you'll get to the same place. But we live in a world now where there is such an emphasis on the left brain. There's such an emphasis on us thinking it through. And, with characters like Mr. Spock and stuff trying to convince us that, our emotions are illogical and it's all about thinking, he's kind of right and he's really not right in a way. But he's kind of right about something in the sense that the way to really see this through is with a cool, dispassionate head, but not one that has turned off your emotions. It's one who has come to understand what their emotions actually mean and has learned to lean to the positive aspect of them because you are a binary mind system. You're a binary all kinds of system. We start at the fundamental level. You're the quantum field and you are your specific body self. But you are a binary mind system, and they're both vibrational. Both of your minds are vibrational. You can measure your brain output, your vibrational activity. You can measure it with a magnetoencephalogram. Will measure it outside of your skull. It's a thing that sits apart from your skull that measures your brain activity. You are producing an electromagnetic signature is coming from your thinking, from your thoughts, from your brain. from your physical brain. There is that. Your heart is also producing a large electromagnetic field. When the brain and the heart's electromagnetic fields are in alignment, in coherent alignment with one another, heart-brain coherency, the human being goes into optimal operation mode. And it's from that frequency that you can start tapping into the wholeness of who you are and the wholeness of what the field is around you, this universal consciousness field that surrounds us all. It's a morphogenetic field of information. Anyway, you are a binary system and your two minds are vibrational. And when your smaller, specific physical mind takes thoughts that you have control over, you can turn to look at your neighbor and hate him, think small thoughts, think vengeful thoughts, or, spiteful against, former lovers or whatever that have wronged you, or neighboring countries that you're frightened of, or authoritarian dictators that you're frightened of. You can think thoughts about them and feel, but when you think thoughts that produce negative emotions, what you're actually experiencing is, so imagine this, your source mind knows what's going on, knows all things. And the reason, and I don't say it from a spooky religious standpoint, I say this now from mathematical certainty, as I understand that we are holographic. And because we're holographic, the encoded information is coming into every part of the universe, is informed about every other part of the universe through an interference pattern that is transmitting the information of all locations, all information, their temperature, their velocity, their direction, their everything. The universe knows what's going on. Now, it doesn't know all things because it only knows what has gone on, what is going on, and vibrationally what's in the hatch, getting ready to come on. Now, I'm just saying this from this perspective. There might be another perspective where all things have been, all things have happened, there is nothing new unto the sky. But I don't like that viewpoint because it kind of, it feels stale. It feels like there's nothing new. And I think there is new. I think that we are new. And I think we are certainly new to ourselves, even if we are not new unto the whole universe. And the things that we discover about the nature of ourselves and the nature of the universe, they are new. I think it's the universe learning about itself, and it learns about it through us. But I can't swear that it hasn't never been figured out before, because it's been sitting here being the way it is forever. And it's very possible that other beings have figured it out before. It's a Planck field. It's a holographic thing. And whether or not the new things that I think about are really truly new, or whether they are just true for mankind right now in the 21st century, or it doesn't matter whether they're new, it's still useful. Doesn't really matter. We're still going to talk about this. Who am I? So you're this binary mind, right? You are your source mind who is always positive. Always positive, knows what you want, knows who you are, knows where you want is, and is trying to guide you there. How is it trying to guide you there? If you would focus on the frequencies that your inner being abides in, that would be a service. That would help. Another thing that would help is if you could try to keep your mind upon what you want, as opposed to keeping your mind upon the reality of what you've got that you don't like. Because that's a problem. As you focus upon what you have that you don't like, your frequency is dropping. And in your dropped frequency, you lose contact with the good ideas and good impulses and information about how to rendezvous with the rest of the field most satisfactorily. This universal, this holographic oneness that we are all a part of is trying to organize itself. And it organizes itself along lines of win, 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 win for the most number of consciousnesses, because it is all the consciousnesses. It actually doesn't have the same kind of prejudice for one species against another the way we do, thinking, oh, human beings are way more important than, prairie dogs or whatever. But the allness doesn't really think of it that way. It's thinking about the most good for the most beings is the overall slant. And then each being has to do its job, which is keep your eyes upon what you want. Don't focus on what you have so much. It's sort of like driving a fast car. You have to look at the road, but if you stopped and stared at the absolute specifics of exactly where you are right now, your car would do one of two things. It would either slow to an absolute crawl so that you're actually not moving anymore. You're just staring at the gravel on the road or the asphalt on the road below you. Or you would lose track of altogether of what you're doing and spin off into the ditch, You have to keep your eye upon where you're going. At the same time, you're kind of glancing at the road beneath you. It's sort of like that. Because we are beings of light and we are moving through the space, and it would be nice, some of the stuff that we're moving through would be nice if we would get through some of the darker parts quicker so that we would get to the really fun part. But the only way to really do that is to understand that it's all fun when you understand the game. When you understand the rules. Who am I? Who am I? And how does this setup work? So anyway, what does it matter that you have this aspect of you that is relentlessly positive? It really matters. You will never escape this. You will never escape the positive aspect of yourself that will dog you for the rest of your days. So if you are so determined to go negative, just know that. Just know that your source will never join you in your negative stance. And your source knows what you want and is trying to call you to it. So what I have come to understand, I am learning to give up my negative self. But I don't mean it in a subtraction kind of way. Remember, we were talking about addition and subtraction consciousness. I'm not talking about it in a subtraction kind of a way. You have to honor your negative self. You just have to understand what it is in order for you to extract properly the information that it's giving you. So it is telling you something about the possible field that you don't like. You don't have to like everything. But know that your real self is always positive. And if you want to find your way, you need to keep your eyes upon your desire, not upon your beliefs that you can't have your desires. I'm going to get in the weeds here if I don't approach this more mindfully. What do I mean by this? So if you're going to follow the guidance of your inner being, how do you do that? What does that mean? Well, your inner being knows everything. It knows everything because it is holographically in touch with all the rest of the field. It's getting a vibrational reading at all times about the movement of all things, and it has been doing that for eternity. It's like the whole world has an inner being. The whole universe has a vibrational aspect of itself that is in touch with itself, that knows about itself. It is the universal consciousness thing. It's the thing that we keep trying to describe. We call it God. We anthropomorphize it, turn it into an old man sitting at a desk judging us. Well, there's no judgment going on other than the judgment comes from, are you understanding how reality is coming into being, or are you not understanding it? And if you are not understanding it and persisting in your actions that are not in understanding, it is very likely that you are unhappy or unsuccessful about something. You know, the more you clearly understand what's really happening, the more effective you're going to be in life, and the more creatively and cooperative componently you are going to be interacting with all the rest of the field. Because remember, the name of the game is not he who dies with the most toys wins, or he who's the biggest, baddest, most competitive asshole on the block is the one who reigns victorious, or whatever. That is not the name of the game. Sometimes that becomes the name of the human game, and it's one of the reasons why we go off the skids so bad. Why it looks so very chaotic periodically within the human field. Because we do believe that, but it's not true. The actual winner is going to be he who collaborates, who comes up with the biggest win. Because that's the name of the game. The name of the game is win-win, not win-lose. And when you're playing a win-lose game, well, you're going to get sucked into a maelstrom, first of all, because you're going to create polarity in the field. And like I said before, there's no us and them, but there is an enemy, and his name is polarity. Your belief in an us and them, your belief in a win-lose, your belief in a zero-sum energy or a zero-sum game is the actual enemy. Your belief in that zero-sum game produces the scarcity consciousness. It produces the lack, the paradigm of apparent lack. But there's no such thing as lack. This universe is abundant, beyond measure. And if we would line up our belief systems a little closer to the actual reality of how reality is actually manifesting, we would be way more successful, way more peaceful, way more productive, efficient, coherent, all kinds of things. More wealthy. And it is to that service that I make this show, this little show I humbly call Who Am I? Right now, we're in the middle of a discussion about the meaning of your emotions. So just in case you think that the meaning of your emotions is that thing happened to me, I observed that incident that I did not care for, and I don't need to care for that. A loved one died. I don't need to like that. I don't have to love that. Someone left me, and now I'm alone. I don't have to like that. But it is not the thing that happened that made you feel that way. The thing happening, it was part of the sequence only because you made it that way. It had to do with it because of the way you were focusing and the thoughts that you were plugged into. It's so funny. When you start trying to get really clear, you realize there's so many verbal things you have to watch out for. we're talking about the meaning of your negative emotions and what do you do about your negative emotions? What do you do when you have them? I'm having them, I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling frightened, or I'm feeling frustrated, or what is the range of human emotion? I do have, oh, that's the wrong picture. This actually is a good picture. It shows it in terms of momentum. This is just the raw list, kind of showing you the I think of it, the scale, very much like the scale of the electromagnetic frequency. The electromagnetic scale of energy frequency. Or it's parallel to, colors of the rainbow. Not quite. But your emotions run on this scale. Down at the bottom is very strong negative emotion. And then as you rise up through this, you get that negative momentum sort of releases as you get higher up. When you reach contentment, this is where you are. So let's go back to this one. This one you can see the scale in terms of momentum. As you go farther down the negative emotional scale, the momentum of the negative gets higher. Now, in a way, this is a bit of a misnomer, but it isn't really. You could... Oh, I'm getting ideas about how you could represent this. When you get up to contentment, you pretty much don't have any negative anymore. You're starting a positive momentum. And if you would stay in contentment, the fact is your positive aspect self it's got a positive momentum of its own going. So if you can just get your conventional self to stop being actively negative, a positive momentum under your wings, under your feet, will start to develop. All you have to do is quit with the no all the time. What you've done since we did say that your source energy side, the way to identify it, it's where your desire is. And your specific side, your conventional mind, is where your beliefs are. Your beliefs, your words that think about things and rules and how it works and memories of stuff, and you've decided things. That's your specific self over there, holding your beliefs about what you've experienced and what you're looking at when you address the field. Your source mind over there is knowing what the field is doing and has its eye on on what you want. It's looking at your desire. It knows everything. It's looking at your desire. You know very limited things, and you are looking at what? What you've got? When you start getting cattywampus with yourself like that, that's what's causing your negative emotion. You is focused on some material aspect of the reality that you don't like, and it's causing your frequency to drop, which the relativity between your source mind frequency, which is very, very high, and that specific one that you just took that might be quite low, the difference in those two frequencies is what is causing the sensation that you call negative emotion. That doesn't mean you have to like what you're looking at. It means know that your focus, your attention, the frequency that you are broadcasting on, which is the same frequency that you're going to be receiving on, you have control of the broadcast, so you must have control of the receiving, but you have to broadcast from the right frequency in order to receive on that same frequency. So if you're looking for love, you need to be broadcasting love, not fear and hate and anger. And from your position, you're still calling it love because you don't realize what your negative emotion is doing to the field around you. You don't realize how it's skewing your own ability to see the truth about the wholeness, the whole picture of what's happening around you. I think this understanding of our negative emotions is a really, really key thing. Now, it's only a piece of the puzzle that I want to address in my show, Who Am I? It's just a piece of it. Because the rest of it is how does the quantum field in general work, and how could we learn to plug our technologies directly into source energy? Well, first of all, you got to believe that it can be done. And you know what? We live in a morphogenetic field that is really, really, really plastic and pliable. You know, it can become anything. If you can believe it, if you can want it and believe it. And I'll tell you what, I've come to a place where I both want it and believe it. I do believe it. And I don't believe it from a superstitious position. I believe it from a, oh my gosh, this all fits together. It makes so much sense. I do believe this. And you can come to believe it too. I do not suggest that you believe anything that doesn't make sense to you. Do not believe things just for, faithful purposes. Believe things because they make sense, and you can line up your sense of sense in really powerful ways when you do this. Where are we? Where are we in the narrative? What was I trying to get at? Know what your negative emotions mean. Don't just take them at face value. Of course that thing that you're looking at you don't like. Your mother died. Your father died. Your lover died. Your child died. You don't have to like that. You've lost your home. It's burned down. Your neighbors are at war and it's spilling into your neighborhood. You don't have to like any of those things. But your persistent negative emotion about it puts you at odds with the aspect of you that knows how to find your way out of this, how to find your way to happiness anyway. You are a being who is designed to be happy anyway, and as you learn how to lean that direction, you actually start pulling the field with you, so that it's not just, putting a happy sticker on a sad face. It's learning how these energies move, and you can actually start turning the rolling manifestation lighter, especially within the human morphogenetic field, because we have a lot of power within this human field to affect each other, to inspire each other to our mutual and individual divinely autonomous alignment. And that really is the only way that you're going to help ultimately your fellow man, is by demonstrating your own alignment. And then they will watch you and go, oh, look at how that works. Look at what's happening. I am just like everybody else. I do not want to live in a world where there's no freedom, where the authoritarian dictators are calling the shots and human freedom is gone. Now, you may say there's a lot of people that seem to want that. Well, it's because from the way they're looking at it, they don't even realize that's what they're doing. The people who are following the authoritarian dictator wannabe here in the United States, they actually want freedom. And it's funny, it's ironic that their actions are going to produce quite the opposite for a time, because they don't see it that way. They don't realize that. But the problem is that they are acting from their negative emotions. And when any of us act from negative impulses, we get the whole thing kind of is off, because there is a source of organization. And the source is loving and peaceful and kind and knows everything, knows who you are, knows what you want, knows who they are, what they want, knows the point that where all of our desires come together in a win-win-win-win-win-win-win of blessed proportions, where we all get what we want. Freedom, clean air, clean water, biological diversity, peace, comfort, abundance, food, joy, fun, all of the things that all of us want. When you start thinking from that pure vibration and hold that vibration, keep your eye on that frequency, and the morphogenetic field will start morphing that direction into things that match that frequency. It works that way, not the other way around. You don't hammer it into physical place, and then as soon as you get it physically correct, now we can all observe this and then emit that vibration of joy and fun and abundance and all that. You find that vibration first, and you find it anyway, no matter what your neighbors are doing, no matter what is going on. And the way that you can do it is by knowing what the whole system is, what the setup is that you are in, who you are, what you're made of, how it works, all of that. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I as source energy? And how does my understanding of that help humanity find its way? How do we understand what's been happening to us? Where did we come from? Where are we going? What is the meaning of history? I think that we've started keeping track of history because a study of and you can do this in your consciousness. You start overlapping eons and epochs. You start overlapping, fashions and politics and religious beliefs over time. You input it into your human soul. You feel what all of that feels like. And then you go, oh, I understand. And what is it to understand? Well, if you know me, and most of you, hopefully the millions of you in the future that will be listening to every word that I say, there might be one or two people that might be listening. I don't know. Literally single digits at this point. But if you know me, you know that where I'm trying to get to is I want to help human beings be off of fossil fuels. I want to help human beings understand who they are, so that they know that there's a sort of a setup in your consciousness. You can set your operating system. You have an internal operating system, an iOS, to your consciousness. You are a combination of hardware and software. And you can set it up inside of yourself so that there is room for all of the universe that exists in there, and everybody's ideas can fit in there, and you don't have to be confused about what's going on when you see phenomenon in front of you, people acting up, whether they are mentally insane, whether they're on drugs, whether they are angry and acting out, with guns or bombs or, whatever form that acting out is looking like, you can look at the phenomenon and understand what you're looking at. And that helps. There's nothing more discombobulating than to have it all feel random and threatening and you have no control over it. Feel like you have no control of it. You're riding a roller coaster. It's like you on the outside of that wheel of karma. You know, you're holding on to it on the out from the outside, and it's spinning, and so your legs are out from, you're just hanging on for dear life as that wheel moves. There's that feeling. And then there's that feeling of being at the center of it where things aren't really, you get to the center, and there's a spot in the center of it all where nothing's moving. It's like a stillness, a single spot, a single point where it's all stillness, the eye of the hurricane, and then there's the hurricane all around you. There's that too. And that probably just sounded like disconnected gibberish, what I just said. Hold on, I'm going to regroup. The idea of all of this is to get into alignment. And when you witness some human being around you who is acting up, the meaning of their acting up is they are not in alignment. And what are they not in alignment with? Their own internal source mind. We all have one. We all have this source mind that literally is in touch with all things. Sometimes when one of us stumbles into your broader perspective, your universal mind, if you don't understand where you are, you might imagine that you're the only one there, and then you get delusions of grandeur, and you have visions of demagoguery and whatnot. Excuse me. Well, it is my intention through this show, and I have just passed an hour. I will go probably for another half hour or thereabouts. I don't imagine that I will cover the whole length and breadth of this topic in any one day. However, as the days go by, I'm going to have more and more clearly covered all the points. What 0 point energy is, who you are, both from a conventional aspect as you're looking at your life, wondering how your emotions work and how you're creating your own reality and how the law of attraction works and the laws of momentum and energy and focus and attention, which is indeed the currency of the universe. Literally, literally, literally. There isn't anything more important than focus and attention. And then that's how come in this day and age, there has developed a whole new way to make money. And this way of making money is simply get eyes on you. Focus and attention of any sort is valuable. It's valuable. And so through all these different platforms, there's all these different ways to both spend your attention and attract others' attention. And honestly, if that's all you do, you can make a living these days. And it's demonstrating, that it actually is a currency. I think it's the currency. It's how come your children want attention. They want your attention. They want, people to give them attention. So what are these two minds? Your source mind, your specific mind. When your specific mind that can take any thought that you want it to take, and any belief. We are so look at us through history. We'll believe anything. Anything can be believed. And a form emerges from that. Look at the different fashions in just a couple of 100 years. Oh my goodness. The long black curly wigs that men used to wear, and the high-heeled buckled shoes and leggings, and, crazy, and religious and scientific beliefs. They have changed so much. And you might imagine, but now we know everything. Maybe, only if you add everything up. If you're subtracting out, thinking that you're homing in on the one thing that's the truth, well, you might be missing it. It's like the analogy, I do this every day, but you haven't heard me for a few days, so I'm going to feel free to do this again. The analogy of the blind men and the elephant. Think of the elephant that the blind men are describing. Now, if you don't know what this analogy is, all the blind men are standing at different parts of the elephant, declaring that the elephant is like this, or a rope, or a snake, or a sail, or a tree, or a wall, depending on what aspect of the elephant they are at. Now, insofar as these blind men are collaborating with one another, adding in one another's viewpoints in order to add this bigger thing that they all need to get to is, oh my gosh, this is a living creature that has all these aspects to it. It's a whole nother thing than what we thought. And as far as they do that, they are correct. When they argue with one another about who is right, now all of a sudden they're all wrong. Because the answer isn't one answer. It is all of us added together. And it's all pointing at this allness thing, this great holographic allness thing that we are. I believe that the two aspects of yourself is you as your specific small self alongside of you as the whole thing. You are the whole thing. You are also your very specific self. I mean, I can't deny I am my body. I'm living a life, alongside other beings who are living and dying and loving and crying, and I am that too. But you're not just that. You are your source mind, and your source mind is in touch with you. It's not separate from you. It's not living far, far away as it sees all things. It's right there with you, and it knows what you want. And so, what's the answer? Focus on your own desires. Focus on your own desires purely. And what are your desires purely? Your pure desire is freedom, joy, love, relationship, abundance, collaboration, cooperation, and then more specifically, clean air, clean water, abundant food, comfort, all of that. All of us want that. All of us want that. And I believe that there is a way for all of us to have it, to have what we want. And we don't all just want to lay around eating bonbons and sleeping on, velvet pillows all day. Actually, most of us want to do things because doing things is fun. Creating fun things is fun. And actually, you can do that for a living. You could create fun things for a living, and your fellow human beings would pay you money because they want to do fun things. And if you would put your mind in a state of fun and imagine and then think up and then create things that are fun for you and other people to do, you could make a living doing that. There's all kinds of things. You could make a living thinking about how to clean up the water by gathering together, systems of algae and biological systems that will clean up water. There's a wonderful wetland place right in the middle of Mesa, Tempe. Actually, I think it's Mesa. Might be Mesa Gilbert. I don't know. It's on the east side of the Phoenix area, that valley. My sister took it to me once, and it's a water treatment center. And so all kinds of crappy water is creating this, but they have turned it into the most beautiful, and that the water cleaning systems become wetlands and growing plants and fostering clean water, and there's birds, there's wildlife and fish and frogs and all kinds of things there, created by gray water to begin with. And I don't know, that there's human beings can do anything. What you have to do is you have to focus on what you want. You have to understand how the morphogenetic field works. You can be, do, or have anything. So the whole system is functioning, operating, flowing, morphing along the lines of what is desired by all the beings within the field. They want what they want. They focus on what they want. They move towards what they want. They plug into what they want. Source energy gives them ideas, impulses to move, and we all organize in this beautiful way where we all end up getting what we want. I know that does not look like what we've got. You could look at the specifics on the ground of what our rolling manifestation is now, the current state of affairs, and you could say, well, that's nothing like what I see. Well, the reason it's nothing like what you see is because we don't understand who we are, and we don't understand how it works, and so we've been doing it differently. We've been focusing upon the problems, thinking that we are problem solvers, but we're not problem solvers. We are solution finders, and there is actually a subtle focus and energetic difference there. It has to do with what you're keeping at the center of your focus. Are you focusing on the solution? Well, you may be focusing on something that doesn't exist yet. And so people are going, well, you need to face reality. The fact of the matter is that we've got this terrible problem. Focus on that. Well, no, don't focus on the problem. You can look at the problem and go, oh, okay, got it, see what it is. Now you focus on the solution. But the solution doesn't exist yet. So you're focusing on something that doesn't exist yet. People will claim that you are not facing reality. And the truth of the matter is you aren't facing reality. You're facing the solution. You're facing where you're going. You're not staring at the road beneath you. See how I brought that around in a circle? Anyway, I believe that that's how it works. And I believe that our better understanding of that will bring us to better outcomes, both individually and collectively. The main thing to understand at the root of all things is that all is well. All is well. Couldn't be more well. And plug into it from that perspective, and you'll start getting impulses and ideas for both collaboration, rendezvous, clever ideas to make things better, because the field, the system is designed for abundance. It's designed for abundance, and it's designed for coherence, and it's designed for collaboration. It's trying to organize itself, and it's trying to organize us into a better, harmonious way to be with one another. But don't clamp onto it too specifically. Hold on to that frequency of the frequency of what you want, of freedom and fun and joy and love and peace and faith and all of those things. It's all about frequencies. We live in a universe a vibrational universe, and if you want to understand how it really unfolds, you need to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And I'm going to be wrapping it up shortly. I don't think I'm really going to get to the mathematical end of it today. I will on other days, and I'm still going to put the link in my program. I'm still in the link. Put the links in the description of this program. Links to the origin of mass and the nature of gravity, and the movie The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. That movie is a documentary. Keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. If you happen to have a closed mind, try to crack it open a little bit. It is a history of a history of over-unity devices. That's devices that produce more energy than they take to run. We have been led to believe that that's impossible, but first of all, nothing's really impossible. If you can find the way to believe it, desire it and believe it, if you can find a way, then you can find a way. Anything's possible. But this isn't just philosophical and theoretical, because we actually have a documented history of actual devices who have been producing sustainable energy feeds, either from, there's all kinds of different ways to do it. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of different ways to do it. Plain old over-unity devices, or the Holy Grail would be solid-state devices plugging directly into zero-point energy. Directly into the zero-point energy field. Solid-state devices, as in devices that have no moving parts, so they aren't going to be breaking, And then anyone can plug into all the energy, all of the clean, free energy that they need at any time, anywhere. We actually aren't going to get to that until we are peaceful enough to be able to handle it. And it's not because somebody is granting us this, but it comes from the very understanding of source energy. The very understanding of who we are and how it works will enable us to work it, but we can't use it until we understand it. And with that understanding is going to come a clearer understanding of who we are. It's like you can't work the mechanism until you understand who you are. And when you understand who you are, by definition, you are now peaceful enough to be trusted with it. The reason that these devices were held from us, able to be kept from us for the last over 100 years, is we did not know who we were. We still do not know who we are. But as that consciousness rises, our ability to plug directly into source energy will also rise. And as soon as that happens, then we are no longer on fossil fuels. And that is going to open up a whole new paradigm of abundance and peace and diversity that we have not even begun to imagine. That is going to be so much fun to imagine that as we come back into ourselves, back into holistic communion with the rest of the biofield of this planet. It's going to be fun as we join together in the lattice of blessed consciousness that human beings as a social oneness. That's going to be fun. All of this is going to be fun. But first, what's the first thing we need to understand? Who we are. Who are we? Who am I? How does it work being a human being? Operating a human being vehicle. I got to get off this boring picture. I need more like pictures I could just rest on, because I get on this picture and it's the most boring picture in the world. This wide open aperture and then this closed aperture, but I have not found now I haven't been looking for a better representation of this, but this model just shows me, wide open source mind can see everything, is looking at what you want. You, specific you, is dialing in specifically to the morphogenetic field around you, to the physicality. You're looking at atoms of matter around you, carbon and whatever plastic's made of, and water and cloth, cotton, and whatever it is you're looking at. You're looking at stuff. And all of that stuff, no matter what it is you're looking at, is all this Planck field, this spinning morphogenetic field that becomes and becomes and becomes and becomes and becomes and begoes and begoes and begoes, by the way. It's becoming and begoing all the time. That's the one thing the field does, this morphogenetic field. One thing it does is it morphs. It morphs. I had some wonderful things I said yesterday. Man, I am so sorry that I lost yesterday's work because I had my microphones on stupid. Last thing I'm going to say today, I'm going to bring up the notion of cymatics. I bring this up because it allows us to imagine the truth of the vibrational nature of this universe that we inhabit. It's hard to imagine. It seems so solid. What do you mean it's just vibrational? Well, every one of your atoms is just a stronger momentum of vibration coming across the 0 point energy field. It's a strong enough momentum that it is more here than not here. These are cymatic patterns here. They are produced by some sort of digital device where a frequency is being put into the device, and then it's producing a pattern, a cymatic pattern. This is not a digital device. What these pictures are, this upper right and lower left, this is like a metal plate, probably metal. It's a plate of some sort, black, with a granular medium of some sort sprinkled on the top, and then you pipe a vibration through the plate and a pattern appears on the plate. Change the frequency, you change the pattern. Increase the frequency, and the pattern not only changes, but it becomes more complex. Now, the universe really is vibrational. Upper left and lower right, these are also cymatic patterns, but they are vibrationally produced naturally in the universe. Even the snowflake is a cymatic pattern produced by a frequency as that snowflake is forming in the atmosphere. The frequency that is there as it's how come all the snowflakes are different. They're all different because they're all picking up different frequencies in the field, and by virtue of those frequencies, that crystal is forming. Anyway, it's all really cool. It's very, very cool. We live in a really, really cool universe. And if you're trying to understand the world around you, the systems that surround us, geopolitical, financial, economic, medical, health systems, transportation systems, energy systems, all of the systems around us. If you want to understand where we are, it's all vibrational. And as we change our vibrations, the field morphs. The reason I bring this up is because there's a vision of this that I find really helpful. The field around us is changing, and it's changing along the lines of a vibration. The vibration changes, and things pass away, other things are coming into being. If you are holding on to part of the pattern that is begoing as opposed to becoming, then you're nervous. You're nervous. Your means of support you might feel is vulnerable. You know, your whole family has made its fortune making buggy whips, and now people aren't driving buggies so much anymore. There's this newfangled thing, you know, that they call the horseless carriage. And now, what am I going to do? Well, as the new world comes into being, there's as many opportunities come into being as ones pass away. In any case, I suppose the main thing to keep in mind is... What is the main thing to keep in mind? Who am I? States of consciousness. Your relative efficiency in the world, your ability to move from where you are to towards the things that you find particularly satisfying, specifically satisfying to your exact and specific nature and desires. It depends on your being able to navigate your binary system, to understand your positive and negative emotions, and know that the goal is to go positive. It has to be the goal, because only in your positive state of mind are you in resonance with your inner being who's trying to get you where you want to go. You need to be in resonance with her, because only when you are in resonance can you pick up the pure impulses that she is guiding you with. How to move, how to act, what to think. That actually sounded wrong, because you have the free agency to pick whatever you want. When it feels bad, you've picked something out of resonance. When it feels good, you've picked something in resonance. I'm talking about your thoughts, your state of being, your emotional state of being, not whether or not sensually you're experiencing pleasure right now. I'm talking about how are your thoughts landing. Because remember, your two minds. You have your source mind and your specific mind. They are both vibrational. One is always positive. The other one can be positive or negative. When it's negative, when you take a small thought that your inner being does not agree with, is not looking anywhere like that. When you pick those thoughts, you're out of resonance with your inner being, and now your impulses are skewed. You are now no longer taking direct, pure impulses guiding you towards where you want to be. You're going 180 degrees in the other direction. You got to clean it up. You got to find your clarity. You have to find your happy thought. Find your positive. You have to, and people would say, well, sure, if things would get better, I'd be glad to feel better about them. But that's not how we're designed. We're designed to make things better. But the only way to make things better is you gotta feel good anyway. You gotta get in touch with that greater part of yourself. Knows who you are, knows where you are, knows what you want is, knows how to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And how do you do that? Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the positive trail. Don't be so willing to give up your positive state of being based on something physical happening in the field that you don't like. Because no matter what is happening in the field, you have the power to be happy anyway, because you have the power to see the whole picture and know that all is well. All is well, no matter what. No matter what. And it has to be, because all kinds of whats happen. And if it's not okay when those whats happen, then it's not okay. Then this world that we live in is not okay. But it is. The local volcano really can erupt and kill us all. We were all meant to die. We're coming and going. We're like cells in the body, but the body keeps going, and the body is okay. And you are part of the body, even at the same time that you are a cell. And all is okay. All is well. So, I don't know how well this program landed today. I covered some of my material. I didn't cover the whole thing. I hope that you come back and visit me tomorrow, and any questions that I did not answer today, hopefully I cover them tomorrow. At some point, I will get confident enough in my ability to discuss this topic from this particular vantage point, and I will turn on the start streaming aspect of my program, and we will bring you into it. I would welcome your additions, your insights, your collaborative efforts. For right now, I'm not at that point yet, so you get ready, I'll get ready, you get ready, and we will get there someday.